The following production is brought to you by the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show.
Talkin' Buds Leaf Show. Better late than never. I'll be honest and say there was a part of me that had a bit of FOMO after the game ended last night, where I was like, oh God, I wish we were jumping on right now. But I do think having a night to sleep on it and think about it is like kind of in our favor here. I've gone over this in my head 100 times. And I was like, where are we going to start on this episode of the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show? There is going to be plenty of time. I saw a lot of people on Twitter today reading the eulogy. Like, it's over. There's going to be a lot of time to do that. There's going to be a lot of time to discuss who should be fired, who should stay, who should be traded, who should whatever. I don't want to do that tonight because there's still one game left. So, I mean, there could be more than one game left, but I think we're all operating under the assumption that there's only one game left. So, here's where I want to go with this. I think you and I need to have a heart-to-heart discussion right now because we both sat here all season, both of us, multiple times, and said, all that matters is they win a round. All that matters is they win one round. And everything after that, who cares? They just need to win a round, and it's a success. If Florida completes the sweep on Wednesday night, do you still have that opinion, or are we doing away with that thought?
I've never been more wrong in my entire life than... Like, if I've said that all year, and I've never been more wrong in my entire life. Obviously, you're in a million group texts, group chains watching the game, and my one buddy said that if you don't win a game in the second round, did you even really win a round? And I just thought, I told him right then and there, I'm like, I'm stealing that because that is so true. And I think, like, I know the eulogy is coming, but last night felt like it's over. Like that's why, like, now it's almost, the eulogy is almost going to be too late in a sense, because last night was just like, after they lost that game, and you knew they were losing that game. Like, if you were watching that game and you just knew 100% they were done. And just after the game, I really had a tough time. I saw Twitter just going after the guys personally, and like, I felt bad in that way because the series isn't over, but I don't really blame anybody for feeling pissed off after that game.
Oh, my God, dude. We as a fan base deserve so much better than the shit that we had to sit and watch last night. I mean, the focus coming out of Game 3 is on the core players, because the core players, specifically Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, were awful. And that's really where I want to focus tonight, is these two guys have proven in the biggest moments when they are needed the most, they can't do it. And I know there's someone who's going to go, oh, but Matthews had good moments in the Tampa series and he scored a big goal in Game 6. And yes, he did do all that. But I'm sorry. How can you sit and watch the Edmonton Oilers, watch Leon Draisaitl, watch Connor McDavid, and then think that these performances from Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner are anywhere near acceptable for the money they're paid? I don't understand it. I don't get it, and how they're revered as players in the league. Like that, if someone comes to you and says, I saw your typical people on Twitter today who are just like, oh my God, overreacting. I stick with these guys forever. They're a good team. The bounces haven't gone their way. How can you watch the Edmonton Oilers and still think that about this Leaf team? How?
I hate you if you have that take. As simple as that.
I said this last night.
Come on, man.
I said this last night. If you're somebody who's still defending these guys, we've seen this with the Blue Jays fan base over and over. Your opinion is not based in logic. It's based in emotion, and you're sentimental. That's why you feel that way.
Yeah, throw John Tavares in that conversation too, man.
Yeah, so here's what I want to do. Not to cut you off, but I really want to focus on Matthews and Marner because we're going to talk about Tavares and Nylander later. But their scenarios are a bit different to me. These are your franchise guys. These are guys who, when they're playing, are top 10 players in the National Hockey League. And to play the way Mitch Marner played in Game 3 and has played for the bulk of these playoffs, sorry, I don't give a shit how many points he has. What are we doing?
I don't know. It's going to be, this podcast will be very difficult for me because, I mean, I'm just so, I don't know, man. Like, you're going to have to reel me in. I don't want to get too upset because, yeah, there is the off chance that there's a 1 in a million chance that they come back and somehow win this series, even though I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen. Actually, I'm like almost 99.9% sure that's not going to happen, but it's, I like, we've seen enough. Like, to me, like, that's what this is I've seen enough. It's been a large sample size, and there's these guys show up to big playoff games and they don't play like they play in the regular season. I get that in the regular season, they're dominating play. They have the puck all the time, but if you just sit down and watch the game, even the most loyal Marner defender, like, come on, I wish I could sit down with them and watch the game together and be like, how could you possibly defend this guy?
I think you'll find what I just said is I don't think it's logic. I think it's emotion, and I think they're just a fan of Mitch Marner. And I think a lot of people struggle. Listen, I say this every year when they get eliminated. There is a segment of this fan base that is more than happy to watch these guys twirl and swirl on a Wednesday night in November, and that's good enough for them. And I think, like I said, I don't want to go too far down this road. We've got a lot of time to talk about this. But I think there is a segment of the fan base that is very scared of potentially moving off one of these guys and what that means for being a playoff team.
That's exactly
year in and year out.
Yeah, you nailed that. We remember the years where they just couldn't make the playoffs and they were awful, and that's awful. I hate that. And other teams have shown that if you blow up your team and do a rebuild, like, it's not going to work. Like, look at the Vancouver Canucks. They kind of blew it up, did a rebuild, and it didn't work, and now they're kind of back to square one. So I get it. Being relevant in a playoff picture and making the first round, like, yeah, it's nice for our podcast, for watching this team. Like, I get it, but I mean, we just really have to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, are you cool with just making the playoffs every year? Because
some people
like,
are. Some people are.
This is year 8.
Yeah, it's.
I don't know, man. Like, it's just.
So I thought about this all day today, and the one thing I keep coming back to is there's a cultural issue here, man. Like, there is a problem within the culture of this team. When your best players, like, I saw so many people today who were like, I was so shocked that in a must-win game, that's how they came out and played. And, like, in the moment when you're watching it, yeah, I agree that's how you feel. But when you sit back and you think, it's like, why are we shocked? That's all these two guys have done. That's all they've done in their entire time here. And then you hear Austin Matthews made a goof of himself after the game with his comments about, like, oh, we got some chances. We got pucks. We're getting pucks at the net. It's just not going in for us. It's like, what are you talking about, man? You and your little sidekick got caved. You had the one chance early in the game off the crossbar, and then you were nothing for the rest of it. And I just think, like, I think that there's a huge cultural issue here with the accountability that these guys feel. Leon Draisaitl gets 4 goals. They lose game 1, 6-4. What does he say after? I don't care that I got 4 goals. We can't lose that hockey game. There's no excuses. There's no, like, I'm so tired of listening to this. Sheldon Keefe perpetuates it. There was the incident earlier this season where he reprimanded Matthews and Marner and then had to come out publicly and apologize for it. There is a cultural problem here. The inmates are running the asylum. These guys, if you ever needed proof that the core of the team is what drives it, you got it this year. You brought in character guys like Ryan O'Reilly, who struggled in game 3.
He was
dealing
awful.
Yes, dealing with an injury. But for the sake of the argument, let's talk about, you brought in character guys, Ryan O'Reilly, Nola Chari, what have you. But at the end of the day, when your core guys are your core guys, it's the same team. It doesn't matter. And you need your best guys. Like game 2, I'm sorry. If you don't like it, get over it. You're going to hear a lot of it tonight. Connor McDavid, right off the hop in game 2, goes in and scores a goal because he's like, we're not losing this hockey game. What does that feel like? What does that feel like to watch that? I've never seen it.
Honestly, I know I'm done. Like, I'm just done. Like, I don't want, like, I know there's a lot of series left, but they're not coming back. We all know that. And it's just,
what do you think the issue is? Like, why do you think these guys can't step up in the big moments? Like, why is there such a passiveness to them? They literally come off, like, Austin Matthews seemed so annoyed that he had to stand there and answer questions after his dreadful performance in game 3. Like, why can't these guys take the step that you see other superstars around the league take?
I don't know. You know what's frustrating, though, is, if one of these guys, I don't know, whatever, if they go somewhere else, I guarantee you they'll get into a playoff run with whatever team, and then they'll do well, and all the Leaf fan base will go insane. It's just, for some reason,
it's these
group of guys together who've grown together. It just, it doesn't work. I've seen enough. I've always kind of just had one guy's back. Like, it's like, yeah, we can get rid of this guy, Matthew. I don't care anymore. I've seen enough. This is awful. This is terrible. The fact that all year I said winning a round is enough is an absolute joke. I should clown myself for that. I mean, it's just, I don't know what else to say. There's really no explanation. The only thing that's very clear is they're just like, they're just not it, man. Like, and it starts at the top. I don't care. Like, we can look at the players. To me, the whole culture starts at the top. It goes down from the GM to the coach, president, GM, coach, players. I've seen enough. I'm done. I mean, if they come back and win this series, maybe we'll look like complete idiots, but we all know
we won't be the only ones.
We
won't be and why would we think that? They've given us absolutely no reason to think that.
It's just, you know what? I don't want to personally attack these guys because, again, what I said, I could see, say they moved off Nylander. I even though Nylander was actually their best player in game 3, but say they moved off Matthews. Matthews is going to Los Angeles, and he's going to go have a playoff run, and he's going to be very good, and it's going to piss everybody off.
I think we need to but that's what I mean when I say it's a cultural thing. I'm not saying that it's these guys' fault. I think it's their. Don't you think that these guys would probably be like, I just rip Matthews for looking annoyed for answering those questions. He probably is annoyed. He's probably tired of having to answer this night in and night out, or why this team can't get it done. We are all petrified of the scenario where Marner, Matthews go somewhere and have success.
I'm not
We're
petrified.
all petrified of that. Okay, a lot of the fan base, everyone except you, is petrified.
I was until last night.
So, but I think we need to get our heads around the fact that, like, this group, as currently constituted, does not work. So if Austin Matthews goes elsewhere, or Mitch Marner goes elsewhere, and it works, it's because they're in a different group with a different culture and a different vibe that is just clicking. This vibe isn't clicking. This core I have been a staunch, I said I didn't want to get into this, but you knew we were going there.
Dude, it's impossible not. I'm sorry. I can't sit here and just I can't not talk about it. I'm not being genuine if I'm not talking about it.
So I don't want to go too deep into this, okay? Because we're going to have so much time to talk about Kyle Dubas and what happens. But I have been a staunch Kyle Dubas supporter. I have not wanted to see him get fired. This core should have been dismantled after the Montreal choke job.
Go watch our episode after Game 7 of that series.
This core should have been dismantled after the Montreal. One of these 4 guys should have been moved after the Montreal choke job. It wasn't. It just doesn't. They don't click. There's no culture of accountability. You never see anyone getting upset. You never hear anyone make a comment after a game like the one Draisaitl made after game 1 for the Oilers. Like, you never hear that. oh, well, we're getting our chances and sometimes it goes in, sometimes it does. It's like, get mad, dude. Get mad. Show that you give a single shit about this because it doesn't seem like you do. It doesn't seem like you do. And that's what pisses people off. This is the easiest. We as Leaf fans get such a bad rap about just like how we are as a fan base and whatever. This is the easiest fan base to get over with the fans with. If you could get swept in this series and if it was just Sergei Bobrovsky played out of his mind and they had 50 shots and he made so many saves, we'd all sit here and go, you ran into a 2-time Vezina winner and that's just the way the cookie crumbles and everyone we would be disappointed. But when you visibly are making stupid decisions with the puck on the ice, you have brutal, the way you answer questions, your body language is awful. Like, it's just, I don't know.
This whole podcast has been centered around, we've been doing this for it's our 5th year, 6th year doing this. I'd say the main point of this podcast has been the salary cap and how much these players make. And there is no point that drives that home more than watching the Seattle Kraken in the playoffs right now.
Thank you.
The average hockey fan couldn't name 7 players on that hockey team. And guess what? It doesn't matter because you put a group of guys together with a good attitude who work their ass off and play good hockey.
Culture, Ryan.
Look what happens. And I'm sorry, like you're taking the rap because you're paid to perform and you're not performing. Any single human being on this planet who has a job, a normal job, who's paid to perform and doesn't perform will probably get fired. So you can sit in front of the media and cry and look annoyed, but guess what? You're paid to do that. You're paid to perform. You're paid to score goals. You're paid to fight through adversity, and you're not doing that, and that pisses people off.
You're so right with the Kraken example, because you're a Leaf fan, and you're sitting here and you're going, why am I watching the Seattle Kraken, who you're right, couldn't name 6 guys on that team,
Morgan Geekie.
Yeah, go.
Jordan Eberle.
Why am I watching that team fight to get to a West final?
It dominated last night.
And Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner can't win a battle in the second round. Why am I watching the New Jersey Devils, who are a couple of years behind the Leafs in terms of like youth and development and whatever, after getting their asses handed to them in 2 games in Carolina, come out and win a hockey game in game 3
decisively.
Why? And that is all. And again, we need to stop. Like, intangibles matter. Heart matters. Culture matters. And all 3 of those things are missing from the core players, from the top 2 guys on this team, because there's the other 2 guys in this core. John Tavares can't skate, getting completely and utterly exposed.
Non-factor.
Yeah, completely and utterly exposed.
Looks like a 4th line hockey player.
Yes, getting completely and utterly exposed by the speed of the Florida Panthers. Cannot keep up. Cannot play. I'm sorry.
I'm not beating around the bush because I like a guy personally. Yeah, I'm sorry. He's not good.
I agree with you, but it's like they're screwed. Like if you were sitting there and you say, okay, who's the guy in this core that you'd ideally like to move? He's it. Okay. You're not moving him because absolutely no one is taking him at that $11 million price tag. The best you can hope for is you move him 50% retained, and you'll probably have to throw an asset in there as well for someone to even take him at $6 million. Like, that's how behind the play he is. And there's going to be people who comment on this video like, oh, you guys are so quick to forget what happened in round 1. And it's like, listen, yes.
I don't know how that happened. That was an act of a higher power.
It happened because Andrei Vasilevsky was out of gas and the Lightning top guys were out of gas and Eric Chernak was taken out. Dude, I saw today, in 9 games, they've won 1 in regulation.
Yeah, I'm pissed
so far.
Yeah.
Like how do you you eternal optimist? Like how do you explain? Like why do you think this is good enough? But again, you can't. I can't get inside your head because I'm just not that type of person, dude. We see this with the Jays all the time. Of these guys, like people get so emotionally attached to these guys and they want to succeed with them when the results are screaming at you that like it's not happening.
Yeah, I'm done. I there's no other way to describe it. I'm done. I mean, we'll get into like right now we're focusing on the players. I'm sure after they lose this series in 4 or 5, I will move up the ladder, but it's just, I don't know. I'm done. Like every time they lose a series, we come on here and we say, trade this guy, trade that guy. But last night was the first night where I'm looking around their hockey team, and other than like Luke Shen just being a beauty, but other than that, I'm looking around their hockey team being like, I don't like one guy on this team.
What about Morgan Riley after the way
he's been their best player in the playoffs. But like you're looking at the ice time last night, and it's like TJ Brody's our number 1 defenseman.
Oh, and they're
really?
Jake McCabe is a -7 in this series.
TJ Brody has 7 more minutes than our next defenseman. That's the guy we're relying on, who just looked like a complete goofball in overtime. I have nothing positive to say right now. I really don't. I'm really pissed off because we do this podcast. I love the team. We strap in for at least 70 a year. We watch every game, and like I love this team. And it's just like I don't appreciate the effort. I don't appreciate the attitude. I don't appreciate the stories you hear behind the scenes. I don't appreciate any of it.
And you can't prove any of that, but there's tons of stories around that go around about what happens behind the scenes with this team and how much power the top guys have.
I think it's childish. Yep. It's not what you want in a team that you cheer for, and I am
culture, man.
Pissed off.
It's a culture
ridiculous.
problem, and I'm telling you, there is a massive culture problem here, and that's why I love you bringing up the Seattle Kraken. Just a bunch of guys who have banded together and are out there doing everything they need. Look at the Florida Panthers.
Which, by the way, the leading scorer of the Seattle Kraken this season was a guy the Leafs just shipped off in an expansion draft for nothing. And it doesn't. And guess what? It doesn't matter because when a group of guys decide they want to be men, they can get shit done. And this group is incapable of doing that. They're incapable of doing it.
Look at the Florida Panthers. Like the Florida Panthers are just like, we're not losing. They're banded together. It's just.
I'm out here watching Radko Gudas be a top defenseman in the NHL against the Leafs. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. I am just 10 out of 10. I've never been more pissed off at this team in my entire life. It's awful.
So game 4 goes Wednesday night. I think a lot of us, based on what I read and heard today, plus how you and I are feeling, I'm not expecting much in game 4, quite frankly. I'm expecting them to just kind of roll over. The only hope they have is Joe Wall's probably going to get the start. I thought he.
Yeah. What was he supposed to do, man?
Yeah.
He came in, he did his best.
Yeah.
Like he gave up a breakaway, clean cut breakaway for not paying attention. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
They score a lucky goal. The overtime goal was an absolute joke of an effort as well. Let's just let a guy walk in. Like it's just awful. It's embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing.
We're going to have lots of time to discuss this, like I said, but I think after if it ends on Wednesday or on Friday,
just get it over with. I'm done.
There's going to be, I think this, we say this every year, but I think heads are going to roll this year. They
have to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're all pissed off right now, but how leafy would it be for them to come back and make some sort of an effort so that way the fan base is divided in the end where people are like, oh, they almost showed a good effort. It was just whatever. No, I'm sorry. I'm done. I don't care what happens. They can come back and lose in overtime in game 7. It's not going to change my opinion.
Yeah, I do think there's like I said, there's a culture issue here. And that needs to be addressed in the offseason, regardless of what happens here. We've seen too many, they eliminated Tampa in the first round, but they got outplayed for basically that entire series, except game 2.
I have no idea how they won that series.
It's a culture problem. We watched it all year, not being ready to play. I'm sorry, you watch, like I said, Edmonton, Seattle, New Jersey. How you can watch any of those 3 teams and then turn and watch this one and go, hey, Florida, throw Throw the Florida Panthers in there too.
Yeah.
How you can watch any of those 4 teams and turn around and watch this and think that, oh, it's like a bounce here or a bounce there. It's like, no, I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. No. You do you.
Yeah, so that's it.
All right, yeah, we're going to get out of here. We'll be back after game 4. That will likely be the eulogy episode. Are you going to make it?
What do you mean?
You're going to make it to game 4?
I don't know, man. It's just I've never been lower as a fan of any other pro sports. This is the lowest I've ever been in my life as a fan of a hockey team.
Well, I think we'll end it on that. So we will be back after game 4. If you would like to come and listen to our take, whatever happens after game 4, hit that like and subscribe button below. We appreciate everybody's support. Do the same thing if you're listening to the audio version.
Spread the word. Tell your friends that this team sucks.
Really appreciate it. We'll see you guys after game 4.